Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, the Prince of Powerbombs, and joining me as always is my amazing co-host and the true messiah of the backbreaker, Don Mitri. Tonight, we're covering WWE SmackDown from April 4th, 2025. Let's get into it.
I'm the queen of backbreakers. Ask me how.
The true messiah of the backbreaker. Roderick Strong can piss off. There's a new lady sheriff in town. All right. As we get in this episode of WWE SmackDown, this is taking place in Rosemont, Illinois, which is very close to Chicago, so much so that they just called it Chicago. And of course, being Chicago, the first thing that necessarily apparently had to happen was a CM Punk opening show promo. And CM Punk comes out, and the crowd is popping for him. They should. He's the hometown boy. And he starts out by saying that Chicago is absolutely the best television audience. He was told that the best television audiences were overseas, but he disagrees, so much so that he steals the camera from the cameraman so that he can show you all of the people in the arena. And then moving on from there, he goes on to say that his goal is to make new fans every single time. But tonight, he wants to thank all of his old fans. And he says he's very grateful for all of them because since he began his wrestling career, he was always told that he doesn't belong there. And he runs us through memory lane of all the different places that he was on his come up and how they all told him he doesn't belong there. And then he goes on to say he wouldn't be who he is without that city. He wouldn't be where he is without the city. And from the bottom of his heart, he thanks you. And now the hard work begins because he's got a date at WrestleMania. And he promises that he's going to whip Seth Rollins' ass and he's going to put a beating on the tribal chief and main event WrestleMania. And almost in response to Roman Reigns being referred to, the next thing we hear is, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman." And he waddles to the ring. I kid. I absolutely love Paul Heyman. He's one of the best showmen in all of wrestling. And he says he just got into Chicago, apologizes for being late. He meant no disrespect to the second city, and I absolutely assure you, it was no disrespect to my best friend in the world, the second city saint, CM Punk. And he asked Punk if he can get in the ring. Punk's like, yeah, I was just about to thank you. Come on. And the crowd starts chanting ECW, and they both laugh about that for a bit. And Paul Heyman goes on to say, "I thank you, but tonight, ask not Chicago what you can do for your wise man, but instead what your wise man can do for you." And he pretty much recaps when the last time they were standing there, Solo Jacob and Tama Tonga were breathing down his neck, and he had asked CM Punk to take him with him. And the next week, they put him through an announce table, And then he says, not too long after that, CM Punk was in a brutal Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre. And despite the fact that, he won, the match was so grueling that he contemplated never coming back until Paul had pleaded with him to be the fifth member at War Games. And Punk said yes. And he says, you basically saved the match, you saved the bloodline, you deserve all the credit in the world, and for that, I thank you, and if you'll indulge me, I have one more favor to ask. And CM Punk says, another favor. Stockpiling the favors. What can I do for you? And Paul says, please tell me the favor I owe you right now, because Roman Reigns is going to be here, and he's pissed enough as is. And CM Punk latches on to the, did you say he's not here? And Paul's like, well, yet. So he's currently training for WrestleMania, and Punk says, well, he should be. And listen, as much as I think the favor is not really his business, I do think it's going to affect him a little bit. I would like to tell him to his face when I tell you, so why don't you let me and all my friends, indicating the rest of Chicago, know when the big chief decides to show up. And with that, CM Punk goes ahead and leaves the ring, and Paul Heyman is looking ever so dejected. And that leads us into a brief video package for Rey Fenix, who we are then told is debuting tonight. And in fact, he was debuting next, as it is the first match of this episode of SmackDown. It is going to be one Nathan Frazier of Fraxium from NXT versus Rey Fenix. And before I get too deep into this match, Dawn, what would you like to say about it?
Well, to keep it short and sweet, I thought this was a really good opener. It wasn't so much that CM Punk's opening was low energy. It wasn't. It's just that I'm not super thrilled to see CM Punk as the first thing to come out of the ring or come out to the ring. But I should have known it was in Chicago, so I dealt with it. Excuse me. The match that happened after the promo with Rey Fenix and Nathan Frazier, which they kind of breezed over the fact that Nathan Frazier was his opponent. I guess they were trying to make it, the star of the show, star of the channel, Rey Fenix, and I mean, cool, but I thought it was kind of a big deal. And even you and I made mention that Nathan Frazier was the one that he was going against, so we thought that was pretty neat, and maybe they should have made just a bit more fanfare about that, because the match that followed was extremely entertaining.
I fully agree.
Lots of high energy. I saw Rey Fenix do some shit I've never seen before. And I think him and Nathan, I don't know how well they know each other, but they seem to work very well with each other.
Yep, I completely agree.
Yeah, and I think that's really all I would feel like adding to that, because I don't know the names of the moves and whatnot. I mean, of course I know some names and all that jazz, but that's really your forte. But I found this match, excuse me guys, I don't know what's going on, allergies or what, but I thought this was a really good way to open up your match, or to open up your show. Great match.
Yeah.
And he looked good. Rey Fenix looked good on his
debut.
his debut.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you. I know that this was about Rey Fenix. That said, I was really kind of sad that I didn't expect fanfare, but we came back from a commercial break with Frazier in the ring, so we didn't get his opener. We got no one really talking about it a whole lot. That, hey, this is Nathan Frazier from Fraxium. I think they may have said just that much.
Yeah, Joe Tesseract. Yeah, Tesseract said who he was.
They didn't give us much pomp or circumstance about the fact that this was kind of Nathan Frazier's debut on the main roster, like kind of his first showing on SmackDown. Because like I want to say the previous week, his partner Axiom had a fairly big tune-up match with Gunter, and well, I don't think anybody looked at that match and thought Axiom's going to win. He did put on a great match with Gunter. Similarly, I didn't think for Rey Fenix's debut, Nathan Frazier was going to win. But I was hoping for him to make a good showing, and for the most part, I'll say he did. There was only one botch, and that was when Frazier went for a dive through the middle rope and got hung up. And Rey Fenix, to his credit, moved quickly to catch Mr. Frazier to keep him from just taking the splat full on onto the floor. But outside of that, Nathan did just fine. And
we're gonna call moves like that the yeet.
The yeet in honor of Jey Uso. Hey,
Yeah.
to Jay's credit, he messed up going over the top rope, so he was shooting a little higher. Although that might be a little easier, maybe if you can make that jump than trying to aim for right between the middle and top rope.
Mayhaps.
But I will say that Rey Fenix, for his first match in a WWE ring, was standout. And not only do I think I saw a few things that I hadn't seen in AEW when we were watching him and Penta over there, but I definitely saw some stuff that I don't believe I've seen in a WWE ring in a long time. It was a fantastic match. Phoenix looks like an absolute master inside those ropes. There was a point where Frazier was trying to run him in circles, and it just didn't work out for Mr. Frazier. He kept eating super kicks, and it was not a good time for him. And there was one point where Phoenix, like after a particularly heated exchange between the two of them, that started with like a spinning kick and a roll-up, and into a roll-up pin, Phoenix then rolls away, only to roll back with a roll-through into a Hurricane Rana, and that was outstanding. It was quick, it was precise, and it was executed flawlessly. Another major high spot was this massive tornado that Phoenix did after tossing Frazier outside of the ring. He basically goes up to the top rope and does like a sky twister tornado to Nathan Frazier, and it looked like he got 2,000 feet in the air when he did this.
It was gorgeous. Yep.
Insane. There was another point where Phoenix ran across the top rope while Frazier was leaning up against the rope and kicked him. And I was like, holy crap, this dude just owns this ring. And I want to say one of the other major high spots, Frazier got in a little bit of offense. He got a reverse DDT in, a running shooting star press, but this largely ended up being Phoenix's show, as his debut should be. As we enter in towards the end of the match, Phoenix blocks an attempt by Frazier to hit an avalanche Spanish fly, but Frazier backflips and lands on his feet, only to run back up the ropes and hit a superplex, and that was pretty good. And then after the superplex, because Frazier, I believe, studied at Seth Rollins' school, taking a page out of Seth Rollins' book, following the superplex, he didn't let go, and he hits him with basically a twisting suplex kind of cutter. What was it called? The last call, or the... I think Wade mentioned it.
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was the curtain call or something like that, but it looked really good, and that might have been the last little bit of offense that Frazier really gets. Because not too long after that, Frazier attempts to do either a vertical suplex or a brain buster, but Phoenix rolls off the back, and then he drop kicks the life out of Frazier. And then we have Rey Fenix deliver another kick, And then, and this is one of the things that I didn't think I'd see in a WWE ring, they're slowly but surely introducing those pile drivers back. Phoenix hits something called a fire driver, which looked a little bit like an Emerald Fusion driver, but like Nathan Frazier took all of it on like his head and neck. Like this was a driver of drivers. Like it was full on an off the shoulder pile driver. It was sick looking. I legitimately was like, is Nathan Frazier okay? I found out that he must have been, or at least okay enough, because he kicked out at 2. And after that, I think Frazier tried to kick Phoenix in the face a couple of times. But it ultimately, Phoenix reversed it and super kicked Frazier again. And then I want to say Frazier ended up in the corner, and Phoenix ran to the corner and jumped off the middle ropes that Frazier was in and did a spinning back kick to Frazier while he was in the corner. And it looked ridiculous. And following that, Phoenix then put Frazier up in what looked like a muscle buster position up on his shoulders. And he called this the Mexican muscle buster because instead of going for the normal drop that the muscle buster has, he instead turned it sort of into something similar to like a Michinoku driver or like a Phantom driver like Santos Escobar uses, but from that muscle buster position. And this got him the 1-2-3. So a hell of a match, a lot of high-flying action, and a fantastic debut for Rey Fenix.
Yeah.
After the match, Byron Saxton rolls into the ring and goes up to Phoenix and asks him, Rey Fenix, how do you feel on your debut here in the WWE? And he gives a big shout-out to Chicago. Says he has a lot of history there. But tonight isn't just the debut of Rey Fenix, it's much more. It's the rebirth of Rey Fenix in the WWE. And he goes on to say he waited his whole life to say this. Rey Fenix is WWE. And then he said animo. And my Spanish isn't good enough to know what that means. I thought he was saying animal when he said it.
And I was like, I love that Muppet.
Exactly. I was like,
He's the
dude.
Best.
All right.
Mustard!
After the match, after the interview, we immediately go to the backstage area where we see Santos Escobar standing with Los Garza, and Santos expresses that he was impressed with Rey Fenix. He said, now that's how it's done, and that's the kind of performance he expects out of Los Garza. And I'm sitting there thinking, Santos, you are delusional. And he goes on to, they obviously thought the same thing because both of them take exception to the comment. And Humberto calls Phoenix a flying lizard, a flash in the pan, and goes on to say that he's better than Phoenix. And Santos says, I like this fire. Where has that been? He says he'll go to talk to Nick Aldis and arrange a match between Berto and Phoenix so that he can prove that he is better. And Humberto is looking not so pleased with this.
Yeah. With the insinuation that that Rey Fenix was anything other than a gecko in spandex
with wings, because he's apparently a flying lizard. I also tend to think he wasn't so happy with the fact that he's actually going to have to put his money where his mouth is. And I'm sorry, no disrespect, Los Garza, but I think Rey Fenix could kick both your asses on the same night in a handicap match. So
yeah, that's true.
Good luck with that.
Prove us wrong.
Indeed. And then I believe we are taken backstage again, only to a different location, where Byron Saxton has teleported from in the ring. And I think you mentioned, does it look like he's in a different suit? For a backstage interview with Braun Strowman. And would you like to speak to this?
Sure. He's Brian. Let's try that sentence again.
Yep, Brian Sexton.
Brian. Brian Saxton. He had a backstage interview with Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman was basically saying that he had enough of Jacob Fatu sticking his nose in his business. He was gonna show him and the world why they call him the monster among men when he demolishes Jacob in the last man standing match. Of course, it does not say last monster standing. Foreshadowing? Who knows?
Oh no, that was his fatal downfall.
While he's talking, Solo Sikoa shows up, slightly off camera. Him and and basically they're talking noise to him, telling him that he's done. No matter what Braun says, he still has to face the Samoan werewolf. And then LA Knight shows up. He joins the conversation. Yeah. And LA Knight says that Braun shouldn't waste his energy on this pumpkinhead, referring to Solo Sikoa.
But it was so much better.
What did he say? He was flapping his bacon lips or something?
You got it. He said Braun shouldn't waste his energy on this pumpkinhead flapping his bacon lips. Oh my god, I was dead.
And honestly, I'm trying to put that imagery together, and I'm still like, I don't know what that creature would be, but that sounds fucked off. But he's got a bacon lips though. Damn. You're torn.
Damn.
Anyway, while Louisiana Knight is encouraging Strowman to keep his eyes on the prize and to ignore the pumpkin-headed, bacon-mouthed Solo, Tamatonga says that Louisiana Knight should be worried about him. And LA Knight looked at him like he was a special patient. And he said, yeah, I'm worried. And then he proceeded to mock Tama's yeah catchphrase business. And then he said he was ready to stump the dummy out and show the world whose game this is, with everybody saying L.A. Knigget.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how that went. Boop, boop.
That is how that went. And next, we are treated to a different style of promo that pervaded through the evening. What did you call it? The Maury Povich camera?
The Maury Povich, the Maury Povich show interview. You guys know his show is famous for the deadbeat dads. You know, this is you're the father business or you're not the father type shows or episodes. And when they had those, they always had these really weirdly filmed segments where the person that was the topic for the moment is on camera, and they're not looking at the camera all the time. They're kind of looking at somebody, but you don't know who. There's somebody who's just off camera that they're looking at. And while they're talking louder than they should be for some reason, I don't know why they're always yelling. There's little segments cut in between that of them looking at the camera, like shaking their head in slow motion or like screaming or something, you know, like there's just weird stuff like that. And then they'd go back to the person talking, and then they'd look at the camera and they'd point or something like that. That was pretty much what was going on tonight with the promos for both Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. They both pretty much have the same type of like fucking weird ass like And it was really, really, really evident with Damien for some reason. Because I can hear him right now. Like, my opponent thinks that he could just do it everything. Oh my god.
Yeah, it felt a little reality show to me. But maybe the Maury Povich reference was just like maybe I just didn't get it. But it
I
felt
think
like,
we're
you know
saying
how
the same
reality
thing.
shows, yeah, they'll give you just that little close up on somebody. Um,
Yeah.
it was
Reality shows do
different.
the same thing, but they always cut the music in too, so it's kind of the same thing. You know how they got somebody like in the moment, but then they also have that same person backstage talking about the moment, like having an
Yeah,
interview.
yep.
Yeah. And they're looking again, they're doing the same thing. Sometimes they're not looking at the camera, sometimes they're looking at somebody slightly off stage or slightly off camera. Sometimes they're looking at the camera. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty much the same vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a different style for sure. Like I was like, is this the real world?
Is this the real?
Uh,
Yeah, or is it just fantasy?
and so to give you the meat and potatoes of Deadbeat Drew McIntyre's promo here, he's wearing an eye patch for one, so he's like Solid Snake Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, he's caught in a
Um,
landslide.
he's Land Pirate McIntyre.
No escape from reality.
Exactly. For that eye, easy come, easy go. Um,
And he
goes on
wants
to
to know. Yeah, he wants to know. He wants to know if Damon will let him go. Later, Damon will say, no, he will not let him go.
yeah.
Please continue.
So he says it wasn't enough that he gave Damien everything that Damien has. Every big moment came at his expense. Every girl he talks to at the bar
Oh
bragging
my
he was
god.
champion.
True,
It was
please.
his title. All the money that Priest made profiting off of Drew being screwed. And he says, you realized without me in your world, even when you were fighting for the title, nobody really cares about Damian Priest unless you're feasting off my scraps. So you took away both my world title opportunities at WrestleMania when my back was turned. All I asked for you to do was to verbally explain to me how I was wrong, poke holes in my logic, maybe face me like a man, but no. You did what you always do. You hid in the shadows like a vulture. And he said, after I had beaten Randy Orton right in the middle of the ring, I was heading out with my buddies and you attacked me. You threw me through a windshield. I'm impressed he said windshield and not windscreen since he's a UK guy. He says, I could live with my back hurting across the ocean, but shards of glass got in my eye, and I may never be the same. I might need a miracle. What I need to do is pray. Everybody knows when Drew McIntyre prays, bad things happen.
Oh my god.
And that was Deadbeat Drew. I thought not a terrible promo, but it was a different style, and it sadly was nothing new. It was the same whining. It's just he did it in a different format.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's praying now, so maybe a miracle will happen.
There's that.
But that was more or less just the segue to the second match of the night. Louisiana Knight versus Tama Tonga. Oh, with Pumpkinhead Bacon Lips at ringside. Solo Sikoa, for those who might not be aware. And what did you think of this match?
Oh my god. I thought it was a really strong C. It was alright. It was good, you know. I honestly think that it was there to give us a reason or an excuse for why these two men, Solo and Tonga, why they wouldn't be around later. And you knew who was gonna win the second the match started. Like you
Yeah.
knew, yeah, exactly. So, I really feel like this was just a filler match to put these two gentlemen in the spotlight for the night because they were not going to be out later for the main event, which was good. By the way, I'm
Yeah.
glad that they weren't there for that. Excuse me. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but I feel like what happened there needed to happen as it did. So this was really just this. I honestly feel like this was a match to give them something to do, and they got something to do. They got ass whoopings, but
Indeed.
by
LA
Louisiana
Knight,
Knight.
he was shelling them out. I felt like it was a pretty good match for what is basically just kind of a middle match.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was pleased to see. I'm happy that Tama Tonga. I know we make fun of him and we make fun of Solo. That's in the kayfabe, right? Because they're the heels,
Yeah.
and one of them has bacon lips.
Apparently.
That's gonna live forever. Thanks, LA Knight.
I'm so
What does it
surprised
even
Solo.
mean?
I'm so surprised Solo kept it together. But Solo's been real good at keeping it together.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that.
The only person that really has ever got him, I think, is Sammy.
Hey, his bacon lips are sealed.
Yeah. Bacon lips.
But this ended up being a pretty good match. Tama Tonga got some offense off. At first, like LA Knight was like, not letting him have anything. But then he fought for a little bit and got a couple of good moves off. I want to say there was a nice move where Tama Tonga did like a really nice. LA Knight was kneeling on the ground, and he sort of gator rolled LA Knight upright, and then hit a really cool Falcon Arrow. And that was kind of the best move Tama Tonga did.
Yeah.
And from there, when Tonga had the up, he attempted to mock LA Knight by going up to the middle turnbuckle in the corner and doing the whole LA Knight, whatever, no, and then threw an elbow. And LA Knight got way out of the way, and Tonga was like destroyed. Like, apparently, he threw everything he had into that elbow, and his arm broke in half. The way he was selling it, he was dead. And with that, LA Knight charges, I think, at Tonga, and Tonga, puts the feet up. But LA Knight rebounds with some big punches and unloads a flurry of those left jabs that he does. Sometimes he'll do left, right, left, but this time it was just all left jabs. And then he hits two clotheslines, and he tosses Tonga to the corner face first, and when Tonga bounces out, he hits that beautiful leaping neck breaker. And then he picks Tonga back up and throws him into the ropes for that like quick power slam he does. And he then, does his LA Knight elbow where, he gives the whole taunt after tasting the wind. And, then he hits the elbow. And after that, he goes for the BFT, but Tonga blocks it. And when Tonga blocks it, he sends LA Knight kind of to the ropes, and then he charges to LA Knight, and Knight hits Tonga with a back elbow, and it's at that point that Solo Sikoa, hops up on the apron and attempts to do a clothesline style version of the Samoan spike to LA Knight, but LA Knight ducks it and then blasts Bacon Lips off the apron. And afterwards, Tama Tonga comes over and does a quick roll up, trying to get a sneak win on LA Knight. And LA Knight kicks out, and they immediately stand up, and Knight hits the BFT to pick up the victory. And then it looks like Solo is recouping, and he heads into the ring, so LA Knight quickly rolls out. and then just sort of walks backwards out of the arena, back up the entrance ramp, smiling and talking smack at the defeated Solo and Tama. So your winner by pinfall, Louisiana Knight.
And then after that, the man with the busiest fucking microphone and wardrobe ever.
Yep, Balrog 6-pack is in the back. I'm sorry, I meant Brian Sextant.
He wishes he had a cool name back, Balrog. But he has a backstage interview with Paul Heyman where he wants to know
blowhard shit sack.
If there's any more information, like if he knows anything else about the favor he owes CM Punk. And I think, isn't that where he looks at the camera and says on the record, no matter what the favor is, his answer is going to be yes?
Yeah, I think in Paul's desperation. Yeah, no, this is correct. He says, "What am I talking to you for, Balrog 6-pack?" And he grabs the camera directly. And he says, "For the record, no matter what the favor is, his answer is going to be yes." Because I think he's desperate to just get Punk to tell them what the favor is.
Yeah. And to get him out of this little pickle that he's in with the tribal chief, who is apparently acting more and more like an abusive partner. We'll get to that later. But then I think a car rolls up, and he thinks, he being Paul, thinks it's the tribal chief, so he immediately starts singing his praises. But then Seth comes out, and he tells Heyman to cheer up.
Most trolls are under bridges, but this one was in an SUV.
Yeah, he comes driving up in a fancy SUV. A SUV.
A SUV.
Yeah, if you will. And Seth basically takes this promo over and he talks about how he has had time to reflect on the situation. And he's got some clarity now. He's formed a game plan. So Heyman really dug himself into a hole with this favor thing, and Seth also wants to know what the favor is. Like everybody wants to know. Yeah. After that, however, and I just want to say my piece real quick.
Oh Lord. Oh,
yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say my piece real quick. I hardly even want to talk about this. This was the stupidest, childish, petty, embarrassing. This was a whole slew of things, and then at the very end, when I thought this can't get any worse, they basically had a 35, 36-year-old woman behave like a 16-year-old. It was bad. This was bad. This segment with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. For some reason, they had to have another face-to-face, y'all. And for some reason, it had to be in the middle of the ring, where Tiffany just basically blurted out a bunch of information. I swear to Christ, it sounded like she was very upset about how things went the last time her and Charlotte, had a confrontation. So then she got on Wikipedia, and then she got onto Wrestling Gossip News, and just tried to find all the scandalous, titillating information that she could about Charlotte. And then she was like, well, I'm gonna do some research on her matches or something. I don't fucking know. And then she gets in the ring and she's like, yeah, well, and then you, how about the fact that you probably suck dick, you dick sucker? Like, seriously. Like, shit.
Yeah, it was that level of super bad.
And then Charlotte, what did she say? Well, she didn't get a chance to respond because every time she tried, the audience just turned up the boo. And I mean, it got so bad that it was deafening. So I don't even know. I don't know if they turned Charlotte's mic down or what, but I don't know. But it felt like Charlotte was ill prepared for this. And Tiffany, I don't know if this happened, y'all. I'm saying this is how it felt. It felt like Tiffany went backstage and was like, everybody get together. I got some stuff I want to say right now. And like, she spent a weekend writing down all this fucking shit. And then when it came down to delivering her lines, instead of doing it correctly or the way she was doing it in her mind, which was going to be all calm and calculated, instead she just started screaming like a 12-year-old. Like a 12-year-old who just found out that her mom was cheating on her dad, like, with her school teacher. Like, that's how she sounded, serious. And
Yeah,
Charlotte spent most of her time sounding flabbergasted and then finally just going, you can have the last word here, Tiffany. And boy, did Tiffany take it. She continued with more, like, and furthermore, you're single and you're gonna remain single, you fucking single bitch. Like, and then Charlotte's like, then, why your boy in my DMs? I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And that's how they ended it, folks. That's right. They ended it. Let me ask you. I don't give a shit. It's not a question. It's a statement. At this point now, I don't give a shit about who wins this match. There's no heat here. There was heat when they started it, but they did the same thing that WWE tends to do. Sometimes, for some fucking reason, is they just go to the next level. If Tiffany was upset that Charlotte bested her verbally, then all Tiffany had to do was wait for a fucking match and then win it. Instead, they decided to give these two, hey, why don't you two, you're both blonde, right? So why don't you two just act like a bunch of immature catty bitches to each other? That'll work. Go.
Yeah, should I give my take on this promo?
Yeah, because it was stupid and I'm done. That's all I want to say. It was stupid. It was embarrassing for both women. For both fucking women. It was an embarrassment, and it took women's wrestling back fucking 15, 20 years. No shit. It was that stupid and ignorant.
I fully agree. I'd like to start with saying I was at what the fuck from the moment Charlotte stepped out, and she's out there wearing a corset, which usually accentuates a woman's figure, but Charlotte does not have any discernible hips. So instead, it was a corset that was struggling to find purchase. And on top of that, it looked really dumb. Like, why is Charlotte, who's supposed to be the queen, coming out looking like the wannabe dominatrix? And then to make matters worse, not only does Charlotte, I don't know her as a person or anything else. It's just me onlooking, but she didn't look good. It looked really bad. She looked like she was doing a bad BDSM cosplay. And so we start out with that before anyone said a damn word. And then, on top of it, Tiffany Stratton comes out looking like she's wearing a black lingerie or something. And it's like, yeah. Did I miss something? One, how did y'all coordinate that you're both wearing black? And two, what the hell is going on in the back? Y'all having some kind of sex party back there? So the whole thing starts off sketchy just before anyone has said anything.
Yeah.
And So we start with Wade Barrett saying he's going to moderate this little conversation they're about to have in a ring, and that he wants to start with Charlotte, and he proceeds to ask her the same damn question that has been asked like 3 times now. And he goes on to say, Charlotte, I would like you to start by explaining a little more in depth why you chose Tiffany Stratton as your WrestleMania opponent. And Charlotte says, essentially, because she was begging and I'm the gift that keeps giving. She wanted a moment, and I haven't done any charity work recently. And every week, the desperation leaks through. And at this point, Chicago starts booing her. And Tiffany then waits for Charlotte to kind of finish. We can't hear a lot of the rest of it because Chicago is booing her like they used to boo Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
And at this point, Tiffany goes, are you done? Wade, did she get her woo in? And she says, listen, Charlotte, your biggest competitor's never been within the ring. It's always been them. And she points at the audience and says, no matter how hard you try, no matter how long you're out for, that's a battle you'll never win. And you love to put this facade on like nothing gets to you, like you're above everybody else. But then, and this is a reference to something I don't know about, she says, but then you're crying on some boohoo talk shows, so which one is it? The saddest part about all this is no matter how many titles you win, you can break all the records, but when it's all said and done, you'll always come in second to your daddy, Ric Flair. And Charlotte attempts to respond to that by suggesting, do you think you're the first opponent? And Chicago's booing the holy hell out of her. Like, she is literally, I think she looked literally thrown off because I think she ended up improving that she's going to stop talking because she's getting booed so hard. But she tried. She says, Chicago, hold on. You've just regurgitated what my last opponents have said for the last 10 years. You think you're the first opponent to say I come second to my dad? And then Chicago just ramped it up to 11. And, like, from this point forward, Charlotte barely can say anything. And Tiffany responds with, what's the matter, Charlotte? Cat got your tongue? And Charlotte's like, well, they're booing so loud. And she tries to keep talking, and, like, we can't really make it out. Like, I think she wanted to say that it was cool that Chicago was booing, but it didn't go anywhere. So Tiffany Stratton takes over since they're allowing her to speak. And she says, Charlotte, at 25, what were you doing? You were trying to be a volleyball player drinking in your daddy's basement. What am I doing at 25? I'm walking into WrestleMania as the WWE champ. You say this is just another match to you. Seems like I've gotten to you, Charlotte. And your WrestleMania record may be 4-3. And you could be the queen inside of the ring, but outside you ain't the queen of shit.
Yeah, and honestly, it sounded to me like the only person that was affected was Tiffany. Like she was going on saying that she thought that she was getting to Charlotte, and I think Charlotte got to her.
Well, and that's the other thing. Tiffany Stratton had a chance to look dominant here because Charlotte was cowed by the crowd. And I think you pointed it out. Tiffany was just screaming like a shrill 15-year-old.
Yeah.
She had no cool in her voice. She didn't seem composed. She seemed out of her depth, to be perfectly honest. And she even stumbled over some of her lines. And I think at one point she tried to say, you call yourself WWE's least favorite Nepo baby. And Charlotte, I think, was able to say, no, Nepo queen. And Tiffany closed it out by saying, when I beat you at WrestleMania, when it's all said and done, you're going to be just like you are outside the ring, alone. What's that record? 0-3? Woo! Making a reference to 3 failed marriages for Charlotte Flair.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, I know.
Like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was when Charlotte finished off by saying, "If that's the case, why is Kaiser in my DMs?" And that last part, like, this whole promo felt off from go. And then the fact that it seemed like Charlotte was legit shut down by Chicago, and that Tiffany at no point, even when she could have been up, looked like she was in control. And then the rest of what was said was just some below the belt, like, lowbrow bullshit. Like, talking about how she's alone, referencing the most recent divorce from Andrade.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what does that got to do with fucking anything about doing something in the ring? It just felt really lowbrow. And the whole segment was just it was bad. It was bad. Neither woman looked good. Nobody got uplifted. Everybody got buried. And honestly, this was the low point of this episode of SmackDown. Like, this was the worst part of this episode of SmackDown.
Yeah.
This was Charlotte and Tiffany's, like, prior to this past Monday, this was their version of a John Cena heel promo. It sucked. It was the thing that sucked the oxygen out of the room and just
so
sucked.
bad. Yeah.
I mean, Chicago crowd may have been into it, but it was just some awful television to look at. It was hard to get through. We were like, what is happening? You know, because it just looked like it came off the rails in a bad way. Not in a cool, interesting, like you meant to do this way, but like they're lost and they're trying to figure out a way out. And Tiffany seemed like she was struggling to get through this promo, and Charlotte was just silenced. She could not literally talk over the Chicago crowd, so she gave up trying and just let Tiffany try and carry the promo by herself, and Tiffany struggled with that. And the whole thing was not good television. It wasn't a good promo. It didn't hype me up for the match, and these shots just seemed petty. Like, I know it's pro wrestling, right? I get it, but these seemed even more petty than normal. Like, this seemed like some really stupid, girly, like, what did you say? Like, they're both blonde, so start behaving like they're just mean girls in school or something?
Yeah.
Like, petty bitches, I think it was that.
Yeah.
And this is on top of them both being dressed like they just came from a BDSM sex party. It was fucking terrible. Like, whoever organized that whole segment needs to have a strong talking to about their future with the WWE.
Yeah, seriously.
In my opinion, at least. I thought it was trash.
I agree.
Worst part of the show, bar none. And we were lamenting that. We were like, oh, damn, this SmackDown was so good. And now when we're doing the podcast, we're going to have to bitch about this whole segment that sucked so much ass and killed it.
Well, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what happened, but like everybody, like if you look, everybody like agrees that this was a train wreck. That Tiffany, surprisingly, I think what really surprised Charlotte Flair is that Tiffany went completely off script. Like she almost, I don't want to say it, but the most recent reports kinda make it sound like she was just going into business for herself. Which, I don't know about that.
Are people saying that? Because, like, for those that don't know, we watch the show and then we try to cut the podcast immediately after. So I don't look at what other people have thought about it because I want my impressions to be mine. But if you're looking now, you're telling me that other outlets and other reporting, like wrestling coverages, are saying that this was a train wreck as well.
Yeah, like Charlotte Flair's promo battle with Tiffany Stratton goes completely off the rails with booze and divorce. Tiffany brought up Charlotte's 0-3 record at marriage in a train wreck segment that ended with Ludwig Kaiser in Flair's DMs. Yeah, so.
Oh Lord! Well, I'm glad. I'm glad then, because like I couldn't tell reading the room from Chicago. They were still into it, but in real time, I was like, "This is trash." Yeah. This train wreck is the right word. I mean, the only other word that I would think of would be dumpster fire. It was bad.
Very.
Well, yeah, I'm glad it's being received like that, because that's feedback that hopefully the WWE will look at and be like, oops, and not do that shit again.
Yeah.
Because it really didn't. I didn't get a sense that Tiffany was well loved by Chicago, just that they supered it like Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like this actually did any favors for building heat to this match, which is one that, I'll be honest, I'm struggling to really have a dog in this fight. I mean, I suppose if I had to pick one... No, I'm not going to be mean. But yeah, I don't have any impetus for this match. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if Charlotte wins. I don't care if Tiffany wins. I just don't care.
No, no,
It's been
they kind of ruined
so
it for me.
sloppily built, and this did not help. That it just feels like it's a match to have a match. Like they were like, oh shit, we don't have anything for Charlotte, and we haven't got an opponent for Tiffany. Here's what we'll do. And then they didn't do a good job making it anything other than that. Like I'm way more hyped for every other match that I know to be confirmed on the card than this one. Like I could forget this one's on the card, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever heat they had on it, they killed it. They killed it. About maybe a week ago. Definitely now. Like it's done for me. I could not care less. Like
Yeah.
honestly, just
I don't know if it would be, because this is something you mentioned when you were talking about it initially. I don't know that it would be like Tiffany is pissed off about the way the previous promo went so much as the WWE probably looked at it and they were like, shit, we buried the champ. So they probably felt like they needed to give her a chance to get a turnabout so that it didn't look immediately like Charlotte's just going to run Tiffany over.
She had that. The very like the very next show, they gave her time to get on mic and talk. Like she did a little promo or whatever.
Yep.
So she did that.
They've overdone it like they did with Sammy and KO.
Yeah, this was worse.
They did it 2 or 3 promos too damn many times to where they talked themselves into a properly built heat, and then they talked themselves right back out of it by making it not make much sense and getting weird. And yeah, I wasn't that invested to begin with. Like, I just haven't been since they started this. And this didn't do any favors for it. Like, this did not do anything to make me care any further. In fact, I'm like, Jesus, this is a train wreck. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was the low point of the night. Seriously.
That was the low point of the night. And then, following that train wreck, we come back from a commercial break because they probably had to take some extra time to clear the ring of all the debris from the train wreck. But we come in
sweep up all the unused Midol. Yeah, I can say
it. Yeah, there was a lot.
Had these two catty bitches taken 2 of those pills, we wouldn't have had this.
Yeah, something. But would you like to speak to Nick Aldis's announcement?
Not really. No, I'm just playing. Nick Aldis makes his announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to make a major announcement. In conjunction with Raw General Manager Adam Pearce, Mr. Screamy Man, next week right here on SmackDown, we will present you a women's tag team gauntlet match featuring teams from both Raw and SmackDown. And the winners are going to face Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania. So That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that could be really good. Any predictions on who might win?
I'm trying to think about the female tag teams that we have.
Well, one of them is like Lyra Valkyria and...
Let me answer.
Oh, sorry.
I'm hoping that it's not, oh man, what are their names? The 2 girls that don't have a tag team name, they just have their names. You know what I'm talking about. They got that stupid song, they come out and they do that goofy little dance.
Katana Chance and Caden Carter?
There you go. Right? Yeah, look at you. Well done.
Yay, I did it.
Yeah, those 2 little lunchboxes. I'm hoping that it's not them.
Well, here's who's in the match. We've got B-Fab and Michin. We've also got, and these are 2 very strong competitors. This is going to be Lyra Valkyria and Bayley.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that's two world champions, like world champion caliber women going for the tag belts. That might be my de facto pick just because it's them.
But they wouldn't win though. They wouldn't win, and there's no chance of them winning.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's two very strong competitors, but because they are more the types that are like strong contenders for solos, probably not, but who knows? Maybe. I mean, the same could be said of Naomi, Jade, and Bianca.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't see it, but
I can dig that.
But you never know. You might be right.
Yeah, I mean, either way, that's two tough competitors right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's not the end of the roster. We do have the aforementioned lunch boxes, Katana and Chance, or
And
Katana
little
and
lunch
Tucker.
sacks.
Yeah, there you go. We also have what's left of Pure Fusion Collection. We've got Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, which is another tough set of women if they actually allow them to be.
Yeah, they won't. They won't win either.
Then we also have the Secret Hervis, which is Piper Niven and Alba Fire.
They might win.
They could. I think the Hervis is getting a bit of a push, but I don't know. It could go either way because BFAB and Meechin have been getting a push too.
They have, but they've been getting a push to go against Chelsea Green
And Naomi.
and yeah. So I don't think they're gonna win this one. I think it's gonna be from that list. All my spider senses tingle and tell me that it might be the two dang girls you just said.
The Secret Hervis.
It might be the Secret Hervis.
But there is one last team.
Who?
The recently formed tag team of Natalia and Maxine Dupree.
No, Secret Hervis.
Yeah, unfazed, changes nothing.
The Her Syndicate.
The Her Syndicate, is that what you said? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So they her people?
We heard people. We heard people. Yeah, we heard people.
We heard. Yeah, anybody who doesn't watch AEW might not get that joke, but if you do, you're welcome.
We're sleeping on the Her Syndicate. That's all I'm trying to say. Ain't nobody sleeping on them. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Nah. The only people sleeping are their opponents in matches because they hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah, they hurt people.
I think MVP might have sent like Big Bill to the hospital just on mic alone.
Oh my god, he scolded both Brian Keith and Big Bill.
Indeed, but I digress. This is WWE. But still, nonetheless, the Her Syndicate is fantastic. They her people. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be them.
Well, out of that mighty talented group of women, only two will rise to be the number one contenders to face Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for their WWE Women's Tag Team Champions at WrestleMania. So it's a big deal. It's a big match.
Big fucking deal.
Big fucking deal. It's WrestleMania, and as we'll learn later, some people don't take it well when they don't have a WrestleMania match. Which brings us to the third match. Indeed. The Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY. And at this point, after after the blight on all that is good pro wrestling television that was that Charlotte and Tiffany thing, us getting to see Motor City Machine Guns and DIY was almost as if SmackDown was asking us to please fast forward or even turn the episode off.
It was like somebody handing you a pamphlet when you're walking down the street and they're saying, basically, you feel like they're saying, here, throw this away for me. That's pretty
Yeah,
much what was happening to our eyes visually. Mitch Hedberg, rip. Um,
rip. And I
like,
will say this
ugh,
real quick. I'll say this. I super don't like DIY. I am not a fan of Johnny Gargano, and
what?
I, I have a hard time being a fan of Tommaso Ciampa while he's attached to Johnny Gargano.
What?
I feel like he's been misused his entire main roster run.
Wow, this is all new to me. I did not know you felt this way.
Oh well, I am no great lover like Triple H of vanilla midgets. That said, I don't super dislike the Motor City Machine Guns in the same way. However, I'm also not super over the moon enough about the Motor City Machine Guns for me to find a match with them versus DIY at all compelling on its face.
Yeah,
So, suffice it to say, I feel like they do end up giving us a good match, but I mean, it just wasn't a good 1-2 punch to have the abortion that was that promo followed by this match with two, teams that I just don't care. And that's kind of my whole take on it if you want to speak to it.
no, that was literally it, man. It was. I'm pretty sure they all did a fantastic job. But I'm so not interested in the Motor Gun City Machines or Motor 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 Machine Gun City City Machine Gun Motor, whatever. I'm over them. Like, I like the little song when they come out, but
Make a fist.
I'm I'm not interested in anything else really.
Grit your teeth.
Yeah, whatever happened to those dudes? Exactly.
Who
So,
cares? Yeah.
yeah. And DIY just, oh my god, bro. They have got to be some of the most, for me, okay? If somebody's out there getting real mad, breaking number two pencils because they're full of rage, that I don't like their favoriteest tag team DIY, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I just don't, man. They're
Yeah,
just not.
keep breaking all the pencils you want. Nothing will change.
Yeah, you can sit on them too, because it's just not my cup of tea. I don't like them. And Motor City Gun Machines, they're just fine. I like them just fine. But DIY is a boring investment for me.
You did
They
make a
just are.
very good point. Because we noticed, I think you said something like, "Hey, you remember when Motor City Machine Guns showed up and pretty immediately received titles, and now they're just in the ring already with no intro."
Yeah, we didn't even see their fucking intro. They were just in the ring after coming
Yeah.
back from break.
So it makes me wonder how up on them WWE is internally at this point.
I can tell you this: I feel like they should be more up on them than they are DIY.
Fully agree. Fully agree.
I think they're better than DIY could ever be. So whatever issues
Yeah.
are going on backstage, I am hoping that if they get rid of any tag team, it's DIY. Honestly, Pretty Deadly's alright. Street
Yeah.
Profits, you know how I feel about them. Motor City
Yep.
Machine Guns, they're okay.
They're okay.
The only ones that I have a fucking problem with, legit, is DIY. They're boring. I don't like Johnny Gargano. And WWE, you got nothing but superstars, right? So the superstar to me is you're good on the mic, you're good in the ring. You see where I'm going with this? That's a superstar. I'm gonna repeat that. You're good on the mic, you're good in the ring. Johnny Gargano good on the mic?
Not really.
Ciampa. What does Ciampa do? No. So these are
Ciampa probably could be, but I'm firmly convinced that Tommaso Ciampa has been misused. And unfortunately, they stuck him with Johnny Gargano because they stuck him with Johnny Gargano back in NXT.
well, he's gonna go to AEW and they're gonna misuse him there too. So I'm not really sure. Not really sure what to do about that. If Ciampa goes to AEW, they're going to do pretty much the same thing that they've done to Pac. So
Yeah. Well, I agree. I'm just not here for DIY. I wish they would GFO, get the fuck out. I mean, it's not even like a strong hatred or anything. Like, it's not heat. It's just don't. Like, they're not entertaining. They're burning TV time.
yeah,
That said, just to kind of summarize this match, the way it ends is Ciampa is caught trying to get the pin by using the middle rope for leverage. And this is after he had taken the top turnbuckle came off, so he takes the turnbuckle. The referee's like, hey, what are you doing with that? And then, Ciampa acts like, well, I'm just going to hit him with it. And the ref's like, hell no. So the ref is all distracted, taking away the pad that he was worried he was going to hit, because it's the padding of the turnbuckle. Oh no, he hit him with a pillow.
And he doesn't put it back.
Yeah, so he doesn't put it back on the turnbuckle. He instead takes it to put it somewhere else, and that's when Ciampa attempts to use the top turnbuckle on I think Sabin, and instead Sabin sidesteps Ciampa into the exposed steel and rolls Ciampa up for the victory. So it wasn't even like a finishing move. Like, what is it that the Motor City Machine Guns do?
It was a turnbuckles finishing move.
Yeah, I can't think of their finishing move right at the moment. But they didn't even get that. I think what is it? Skull and Bones or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
But at any rate, Motor City Machine Guns wins, and the best thing I can take away from this, because it was only a match, and it was a match between two teams that I'm not that up on, one of which I'm really not up on. The saving grace is that we don't have to watch DIY go against the Street Profits. We get to see somebody else.
Thankfully.
And hopefully this will be the Profits solidifying, because it's really kind of the first time that they're going against Motor City Machine Guns for the belts. And so hopefully the Profits will just stomp them into the floor and solidify that they are the champs with show.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to put it into perspective, I like Los Garza more than either of these two teams.
I mean, yeah, you ain't wrong.
So, in conclusion, the Motor City Machine Guns win. After that, the show picks back up. And we are treated to a backstage segment where The Miz and Carmelo Hayes are walking in the backstage area. And they arrive at Pretty Deadly. And they both poke fun at Pretty Deadly losing in their hometown in London last week. And Carmelo compares Pretty Deadly to the Chicago Bears when it comes to fumbling the ball, because Carmelo's not sure what sport he's actually in. He doesn't. I don't think he realizes he's a pro wrestler, because all of his references are like references to either football or basketball.
Yeah.
So he dogs out the Chicago Bears and Pretty Deadly at the same time, and Pretty Deadly ends up coming back, riffing on the entire Marine franchise that Miz was in. And Miz is like, oh yeah, well at least all of the Marine movies got made. How's your musical going? And they're like, well, pretty good actually. We just finished a number. It's about a character that hasn't been awesome from almost 10 years. And they totally missed an opportunity, since it's a musical, to have made reference to like Les Mis, right?
Yeah.
That would have been flawless, but I don't know. I guess either they didn't see that joke, or they didn't think, I guess, the pro wrestling community would understand that joke. I thought it would have been fantastic. Instead, they called it The Miz. So, oh well. And Miz reminds Pretty Deadly that he is a former 9-time tag team champion. And Kit Wilson goes on to say, yeah, with about as many different partners, and he wonders why Mello is happy to be working with The Miz, since he's just one more younger, more talented coattail that he's riding. And Mello kind of stands up for it and says, we could beat you two. And that's when The Miz cuts in and says, that's right, because Mello don't miss. And it's because they're awes him. And then Mello closes out the segment saying, we're working on that last part.
Yeah.
And that at least was entertaining to me. That
of
was
course.
picking it up after what came before it that was not so good. And so I enjoyed that segment personally. I thought it was funny.
It was a nice palate cleanser because things had kind of gotten weird in Chicago.
Yeah. But that led us to our fourth match of the night, which is Naomi versus B-Fab.
And to be perfectly honest, this kind of wasn't a match. This was yet another match to set something else up, a bigger picture type situation. Even before Naomi is out to the ring, she's attacked by Jade Cargill on the ramp. And then people being security, come out and separate them. And then Naomi gets into the ring, and she's kind of getting woman handled there for a minute by B-Fab, who's yeeting her around. And then finally, Naomi decides that she doesn't want to get yeeted around anymore, and she puts an end to that. And that's pretty much it. She says she gets the mic, because this was all for something else. Okay, this is all for what I'm about to tell you now. So then Naomi is like, where you at? Jade basically calling Jade Cargill back out since she's already finished with her lightweight. She's already finished with her appetizer. Where's the main course, And then Jade Cargill comes sliding into the ring, and then they go at it again. They get separated again. I think Jade Cargill is in the ring, and Naomi is on the apron. And then Nick Aldis comes out in his cool man British gait and pretty much says that they are going to have a match at WrestleMania, which makes both of them very happy.
Indeed. And this actually ended up being a pretty good spot all the way around, in my opinion. One, because B-Fab actually got to show off a decent string of offense before Naomi took her head off.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say I was pretty impressed that she brought it to her right at the beginning when she had been beaten up by Jade Cargill. Pulled her down by her hair, then hit her with 2 clotheslines, threw her into the corner, and she ends up blocking a boot that Naomi puts up, hits her with a forearm slash, slams Naomi's head into the turnbuckle, and then hits her with a big running, spinning heel kick. And B-Fab isn't the only woman I've seen do this spinning back kick. I want to say that Anna Jay does it too over in AEW, but I will say this, B-Fab gets her leg to the ceiling. Like, it's crazy. And then she hits Naomi with another big boot on the end of that for a 2 count, and then proceeds to just go to town beating the shit out of Naomi. And then she picks her up and hits her with like a really nice looking Uranagi slam, and also gets another two count. And she tries to hit that spinning heel kick again, and Naomi avoids it. And this is where Naomi decides she's kind of sick of B-Fab's shit.
Yeah.
And basically clubs her and puts her into the corner and BFAB gets tied up in the Tree of Woe. Basically, she missed with the big kick and hung herself up with one of her feet. And I remember this particular portion because Joe Tessitore said something like she was in a very compromising position, and you made a comment of like, "Stop it, Joe! You're sounding like a creeper."
Yeah. You sounded real creepy.
He did.
She's in a
creepy,
compromising position.
Compromising. Yeah.
She's got her leg up there. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right, Joe.
It was like, hey, whoa, are you Joe Tess, or are you turning into Vince over there?
Zip.
No, her name is BFAB, not BFAP.
Gross.
Yeah, at any rate, moving on.
Yeah.
Naomi uses that opportunity while Fab is tangled up in the Tree of Woe to basically stomp her face, and the back of her head hits the bottom turnbuckle, and Fab isn't right at that point. And then Naomi debuts a new finishing move. She grabs BFAB, who is kind of on her knees at this point. She's sort of rolled out of the corner. Grabs both of her wrists and then hits a code breaker. So it's like a double wrist lock code breaker.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing. Like as a move goes, she executed it perfectly. And when I say it looked amazing, it looked like BFAB got broken by this move. It was fantastic. And of course, after hitting that, she picks up the victory. So Naomi wins the match by pinfall, but not for lack of trying on BFAB's part. A good showing for BFAB, even though she did not win the match.
Yeah.
And a great showing for Naomi and her new modified codebreaker. I'm curious to see what kind of name she ends up coming up with it. Maybe it's the Proceed with Caution or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what Tesseract was saying.
Well, he was commenting. He was commenting that she's got Proceed with Caution written all over her because she's wearing that caution tape, but I don't know if that's the name of the move. I think Tessitore said, like, he kneed her in the chest with like a lung blower, and I'm like, no, it wasn't a lung blower, dude. It was a code breaker.
Yeah, because it was not in the lungs. It was like at the bottom of that chin.
Yep, exactly. And after the match, BFAB rolls out of the ring, and Naomi gets a mic, and she says, "Where you at, Jade? Because I'm still standing." And it didn't take Jade but 2 seconds to slide in, behind her. And Naomi turns around with like an oh shit look on her face as Jade just destroys her with a massive pump kick. And then Cargill immediately sets her up to go for Jaded, but as you mentioned before, security guards block it, and I was like, oh, couldn't you have blocked it after she hit Jaded? Come on. And you know the rest. Dawn mentioned it. Nick Aldis comes out and said he's had enough of yo shit, and there's only one way to settle it.
I've had enough. I'm quite British and quite upset.
And this is another great moment for both Naomi and Jade Cargill because they are given a singles match at WrestleMania. So fan-fucking-tastic. And Naomi as a heel, I know it hasn't been long, but she's done a better job since she made the turn than John Cena did. So she's killing it.
True. Yeah, she is. And she's now like 40% hair.
40% hair easily. Like she's only like she's 40% hair, 10% 10% of what's between the hair and the other 50%, which is cakes. It's just cakes.
The next time we see her, she's gonna be 60% hair. Or 80% hair. Her hair's gonna keep growing. The closer she gets to the dark side.
She's still gonna be 60% cakes. They'll just be under the hair.
Yeah. She'll have caked hair.
Yes, but Dark Lord Naomi is absolutely excellent.
For the
Empire. She is a fantastic heel so far. I'm so excited to see it. because she's done great.
Yeah.
I'm really here for it. This is as close to the opposite of the way I feel about the Tiffany and Charlotte thing. Like I'm hyped for this match, and there's not even a belt on the line. This is just a feud, but it's a feud that they built up with like who done it for a long time, and this dramatic heel turn from Naomi. Fan fucking tastic. This is great.
I agree.
And we are now brought to our second half of the made-for-TV movie called Drew and the Priest. And would you like to speak to this reality TV promo from when Mr. Priest?
On this edition of McIntyre versus the Priest, Damian Priest replies to the accusations made by Drew McIntyre. And that's what he did, man. You know, like
Yep.
he literally just I kind of feel like he went down the list of everything that Drew mentioned, and he basically states that Drew McIntyre basically has been painting himself as a victim. Like and he's going on and on about how he didn't have any holes in his logic. But then he points out, like in WrestleMania, he had his moment. But his weird obsession took him to Punk. And Punk ended up clowning him. And you know, that's how he lost that. Damien came in and he cashed and became world champion at WrestleMania. Clash at the Castle, same thing. Excuse me. It should have been about those two, but this weird obsession that Drew had, again, he couldn't get rid of. It followed him. And then, you know, Damien does his job and he remains the world champion. Drew screwed himself, but he keeps calling Damien like the villain here. Money in the Bank. You should have focused on the moment, he says. You tried to cash in, but your baggage once again followed you. And so like he goes down the list, and he basically says that he's addicted to being the victim. He's addicted to victimhood. He gets off on this high from telling stupid ass jokes every week for a cheap ass pop, and then he plays the victim, and he does it every damn week. And so he ends it with, "You don't have to paint me as the villain in your story anymore. I am your villain. The time to pray is now, Drew. No looking for me in the shadows. Look for me in the middle of the ring next week, face to face, eye to eye, because I want you to stop playing the victim and become my victim at WrestleMania." And there were lots of missed opportunities here for his promo.
Yep.
Your name is Damian Priest. For fuck's sake. He being Drew McIntyre, just referenced how he's gonna pray now. What are you doing, Mr. Priest?
They didn't put it together. I was so disappointed.
So disappointed.
What I would have loved is his whole promo up to the point where he says, "You don't have to paint me as the villain in your story anymore. I am your villain. The time to pray is now, Drew. Look for your priest in the middle of that ring." It would have been perfect. It would have done pray to priest. He'd have made the connection. He missed it.
Yep.
Not a bad promo, but I just honestly think it would have been pithier and better if he'd have made that reference to him being a priest and Drew praying. Missed opportunity.
Yeah. I am in agreement.
And after that, we had sort of a weird segment.
Yeah, this one was weird.
Weird because we weren't sure while we were watching this whether this was kayfabe or shoot.
Yeah.
Because Nick Aldis then appears in the middle of the ring and he's very kind of somber and he says, "This is part of my job that's not very fun. In this industry, there's a fine line between coming back next week, like everything's fine, or finding out that potentially you may never be able to set foot in this ring again. It's a cliche, but there's a reason we say don't try this at home. I really don't want to say much more because I'd rather you hear it from the man himself, but ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Kevin Owens." And at this point, we're like, what? What the fuck? What?
Yeah, and then Kevin, he cuts a promo about having his neck, like his neck is severely injured, and he won't be able to do WrestleMania. He won't be able to have his match with Randy, and like it sounds like he's not talking as like right. It sounds like he's literally talking about a situation that he's going through, and he has to step down, so he has to have surgery on his neck. I still don't know if this is accurate, if this is true or not, but he has to have surgery on his neck, and it's something that needs to be done now. They didn't know how bad it was. Now they do, and he needs to go get it taken care of. And it really sucks that he won't be able to have his match with Randy. He it said that he didn't know when he's gonna be back. You know, and he was about to leave out of the ring. He thanked everybody. He said he was sorry. He thanked them again. I still don't know if this is like kayfabe or not. And then he's about to walk out of the ring. And then you want to take it from here?
Yeah, just before he steps out, he even gives like KO and Nick Aldis have a hug.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're like, is this shooter kayfabe?
Or is he pulling an AJ Styles right now?
See, I'm not sure because if it's shoot, then I am terrifically sad for Kevin Owens if that's the case. Like for real.
Yeah.
If it's a work, holy shit, you got me. Because, like, and I'm not sure that I would want this to be something that you often joke about or like that it's a work because this is kind of a big deal when you have a performer basically coming out and not really being in character, saying to the crowd that he, is going to be out because his neck is severely screwed up.
Yeah.
But from this point forward, Randy Orton's music kicks on, and we're like, uh-oh. And at this point, I'm kind of thinking, and I'm sure you might have been too, that, okay, so this must be a work because Randy Orton's coming out.
Yeah.
But Randy Orton comes out, and he climbs up onto the ring apron where Kevin Owens had kind of stopped, and just gives him a nod, and Kevin Owens jumps down from the ring apron and exits. And the announcers are like, oh, okay, a moment of mutual respect between two professionals.
Right. So now you still don't know.
Exactly. And I think at some point, I don't know if Randy actually said anything to Kevin. But he steps into the ring, and Nick Aldis says, "Randy, I hate to be the one to tell you this, and there's no easy way to say it, but I'm afraid this means that you no longer have a match for WrestleMania." And this hits Randy almost like a blow. Like he was standing, and then after Nick Aldis says it, Randy Orton doubles over, like just out of sheer disappointment. But then he springs up out of that doubled over position to RKO the ever-loving shit out of Nick Aldis. And man, it shouldn't, but it really, really is awesome to watch him do that to Nick Aldis, who, for the record, sells the RKO pretty damn well.
Yeah, and if I may,
go ahead.
This is true. It's true. It wasn't kayfabe.
Oh,
Kevin
you
Owens,
it up, so
yeah. Yes, Kevin Owens is reportedly dealing with a serious neck injury that will require surgery, forcing him to miss WrestleMania 41 and his match with Randy Orton. Oh,
See, I don't know though, because like WWE can say shit like that to some of the dirt sheets, and some of them will report it just because WWE said it. Others will report it because like WWE tells them, "Hey, it's a work, but say this." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still cautiously optimistic that Kevin Owens this is all a work. If in a few weeks we find out that's not the case, then by all means, Kevin Owens, please, I hope you're able to get the surgery that you need and that you are able to get back in that ring because, whatever character you may be playing, whatever heel angle you may be playing, you're a fucking great professional wrestler, and it would be a loss to the entire industry for you to be taken out of the game at this juncture. So by all means, get well, get fixed up, get back in that ring if you can.
Yeah, but it seems that's something that people really want to know because you type in "is Kevin" and it finishes Owens really hurt. Like so, people.
Yeah, so it's a big search, huh?
Yeah, so it's a big deal, but man, I hope it's a work, but I wouldn't be happy. I'm like, you can't do that too many times, please don't. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
I'd be happier it's a work than the truth, but yes, I absolutely know what you mean. Like that's not something I like being used as a storyline too often, because it
Yeah.
immediately reminded me of when Joseph Anawai, aka Roman Reigns, came to the ring and told us he had leukemia, and it's
Yeah.
like you can't make that into a work too many times, if
Right.
at
Right.
all.
Mhm.
It's so if it is shoot, then everything I said about Kevin Owens still stands. If it's a work, okay, good, you got me, but please don't make that don't work us like that in that way too many times, please.
Yeah. Please and thank you.
Well, because to be perfectly honest, part of what I like about watching this pro wrestling is that I know that as far as if everything goes according to plan, everybody gets up and goes has beer and a steak afterwards, right? Like
Yeah.
this is pretend violence, and bad things theoretically aren't happening to these individuals. So it kind of ruins that for me if you're gonna make me think these guys are like getting hurt, and so using that as a work, like it kills it. Don't yeah. So anyway, enough about that. That leads us into our fifth match of the night, which is the last man standing match between the werewolf, the Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. And I don't think either of us knew for sure how this match was going to be expected to go.
Yeah.
Because I think you said Strowman wins at the beginning.
I did because Fatu immediately attacked him before the bell was even rung. Before he was in the ring, Fatu went after him. And that's normally a telltale sign that whoever attacks first, usually is the person that's going to lose. So yeah, I immediately said, Strowman. But you said Fatu.
I did, but I also said that because it's a last man standing match, which is notoriously a anything goes match. If you recall, we had one of the last big matches between, or maybe the last match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, where Brock came in with like a forklift. Was a last man standing match where he used the entire bloodline and like piles of chairs and furniture to keep Brock from getting up. So I was thinking, oh, well, we've kind of seen the bloodline work this type of match before. So I was thinking, well, Jacob Fatu will probably benefit from the assistance of Bacon Lips and yeah boy. However, neither of us turned out to be correct in this scenario. Would you like to speak more to this match, or should I take it?
You can take it.
All right. This match was an out and out brawl, and it was really, really good. They're both giving it to each other big time. And there's a point where the match ends up outside the ring. But, well, actually, I get ahead of myself. Early on in the match, or relatively early on in the match, Fatu manages to land a super kick on Strowman and then hits a running elbow strike, and that puts Strowman on the mat. And when he's there, Jacob Fatu just kind of out of nowhere, and it is incredible that this guy who's like, 285 pounds can do this as quickly and as accurately as he does, but he nails 2 double jump moonsaults on Strowman like early on, and I'm like, well, shit, that's it.
Yeah.
But like for a brief second, I forgot that he needs more than a 3 count. So while it's impressive that he got those off so quickly on Strowman, it's not enough to keep Strowman down for the full 10 count needed. So Strowman wisely exits the ring, and Fatu follows him outside, and he's beaten on Strowman. And then Strowman grabs, I want to say, the steel ring steps and starts beating Fatu with them. Strowman then, I want to say, hits a flying double axe handle off of the ring stairs and launches Fatu into the Prime Hydration Station. And then I think we went to a commercial. When we come back, Strowman's using the hood of the announce table as a weapon, and he's beaten on Fatu, and Fatu kind of regains a bit of control when he reverses a hammer throw towards the ring steps, and then he super kicks Strowman again, rolls Strowman back into the ring, hits him with several headbutts, but then Strowman launches Fatu towards the ropes and hits a massive spine buster. Strowman, I want to say, goes and gets a table and puts it in the ring at that point, and he sets up the table in the corner. And at that point, Fatu hits another super kick, and Strowman counters with a big boot. And so it's just like meat, at that point. And then Fatu sends Strowman tumbling to the floor, and he then launches a suicide dive. And I think at this point, I made a comment about how it must make Nathan Frazier feel a little bit bad that an almost 300-pound guy just hit that through the middle rope suicide dive a little better than he did earlier in the evening. And then Fatu drives Strowman face first into the steel ring post, like hard, because Strowman slid on the floor. And I was like, damn, because Strowman is like just shy of 400 pounds.
Yeah.
So for him to slide across the floor, that's a lot of dude to slide across the floor.
Yeah.
And at that point, Fatu is setting up the running hip attack, and he lines up because I want to say Strowman recovers and he's hanging off the edge of the barricade, right? Like kind of just in front of where the ring announcers typically sit in the bell, the ring bell. Mm-hmm. And Fatu backs way up to get a running start, and he takes out running. I think you made a comment about like he runs much faster than Strowman does. Well, he ran really fast in just like straight into a steel chair from Strowman, and it looked vicious. Like I was like, oh shit! He ran headlong into that chair.
Yeah.
And yet Fatu gets the fuck up like at a 3 on the count, 3 or 4. And I'm like, what do you got to hit Jacob Fatu with? And then Strowman has a similar idea and does the Strowman Express. And I think at that point you made a comment about someone must have told him to run faster because he did it a little quicker than normal. And he charges straight through the ringside barricade with Fatu. And I think that's when they took another commercial break, like with both men just rolling around on the floor dead. When we come back, Strowman has control of the match, and they're kind of behind, like a little further behind, like near or into the crowd, and they're kind of up on a bit of the like tables and storage cases and that kind of furniture that I think is part of the sound stage or whatnot. And they set up on top of I want to say some storage cases. Like Strowman steps up like off of the like the path where the fans are all sitting, the crowd, and onto that storage case. And he brings Fatu with him, and both are standing up there. And Strowman looks over his shoulder and sees there's a table back there. And I'm like, is he going to go for a powerbomb? Because Fatu is like kneeling in front of him because he's been beaten up. And so I'm like, is this going to be a powerbomb, a choke slam? Hell no. Strowman goes for a complete vertical suplex into the table. And this was a hellacious looking bump. Like, it looked great, but it was a vicious looking bump. And afterwards, Strowman had a heck of a scratch on his shoulder because he was bleeding. And it was all over the place coming off his shoulder. And that was a pretty fantastic one. It was at that moment that we both saw that fan that the camera tuned in on that looked like Max Caster from AEW. We're like, what's he doing? He's watching SmackDown? And that vertical suplex was just crazy. But both guys managed to get to their feet before the ref is able to count to 10. However, they're both struggling to stay on their feet, like, because they're both kind of beat up at this point. And Fatu and Strowman are both kind of trying to figure out what they need to do and how they need to go. Strowman sort of stumbles around the long side of the ring, and the camera follows him. And he rolls in on the far side where the table was set up in the corner. And he's just starting to get to his feet, like he's on all fours trying to get a foot under him, when Fatu slides back into the ring and beelines for Strowman and hits him with a massive hip attack that puts Strowman like face first through the table that was set up in the corner. And the ref is continuing his count at this point, and both men are pretty annihilated. But Fatu manages to get up right at the 9 count, and Strowman is like 2 seconds too late, but he does end up trying to get up. And so Fatu ends up picking up the last man standing victory. So not only was it not Strowman who won, but Fatu picks up the victory clean with no help from Solo or Tama Tonga.
Which I think was kind of important.
I think so too, but yeah, he just straight up beat the monster among monsters here.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic match. It was one of the better matches of the whole night. Like, it was vicious. And the referee holds Fatu's hand up, and he tries to, he holds his hand up and he tries to be like ferocious, but then he falls over because he's been so beaten up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sort of rolls out of the ring and, tries to make his way back up the ramp looking like he's gotten the shit kicked out of him the whole way. Fantastic match. Excellent performance from both men. Just everything you wanted to see between these two slobber knocker men beating the holy crap out of each other. It was great.
Yeah. Probably match of the night for me.
Really? Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Then we're informed that what happened next was a almost full-length recap of the promo between John Cena and Cody Rhodes from Raw.
Oh my god.
Like not the highlight reel, like almost the entire segment replayed on SmackDown. Guys.
Yeah. Again.
For the love of, please. That is so unnecessary that you do the entire segment from another show on like SmackDown.
From like the beginning. Unnecessary.
But it ends with us finding out that Cody Rhodes will be returning to SmackDown next week. And then they remind us that there's going to be a number one contenders tag gauntlet next week, and they show us a little graphic that shows all of the women, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, all of the ladies we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We also find out that next week on SmackDown, Drew and Damian will go face to face instead of being weirdly filmed. Like they were both in the same building tonight, but instead they were doing individual segments. We also find out that the match apparently was successfully made by Santos Escobar, and Rey Fenix will be facing Humberto Carrillo. Then we go to the back where we see Paul Heyman. And we have moron Sextant coming up to Paul Heyman and saying, "Hey, Paul, just wondering if you might have an idea when Roman Reigns will arrive." And Paul mocks him by saying, "What do you mean Roman Reigns arrive?" And he says, "In a minute." And sure enough, I think there was a brief commercial break, and when they come back, he's arriving. So it was in a minute.
Yeah.
And he finally has arrived at the Allstate Arena, and he's pissed. And he walks right past Paul Heyman, making his way to the ring as Paul's trying to say something to his tribal chief. And so Paul's just in tow at this point, following. And Roman beelines like into the arena, right through Gorilla. They hit his music. And this was notably the shortest entrance for Roman Reigns in the history of Roman Reigns' entrances. Like, he went straight to the ring, got in, and immediately asked for the microphone, which Paul Heyman gave to him. And he tells Chicago to acknowledge him. And he says, "Wise man." And Paul's like, "Yes, my tribal chief. Is he here?" "Yes, my tribal chief." Yes, the crowd at this point is chanting CM Punk, and Roman responds, "Yes, that's exactly who I'm talking about." And he goes, "Wise man, yes, my tribal chief. Is he still talking about this favor?" "Yes, my tribal chief." And he goes on to say, "Chicago, I don't know how you deal with this guy." And he says, "Wise man, yes, my tribal chief. Should I share a secret with Chicago?" "Yes, my tribal chief. CM Punk wouldn't be back here if it wasn't for me, and he sure wouldn't be in the main event of WrestleMania if it wasn't for me. I get it, you're good people, he's from the same city, you have to like him. You're good people, you mean well, but you're not that smart. CM Punk has been around forever, he's wrestled everyone around the sun, legends, Hall of Famers, champions, but he's never been in the main event of WrestleMania, no, not until he was introduced to the tribal chief." And they start chanting OTC, and he says, "That's right, you hear them chanting for the tribal chief in your city. I'm right here in the ring. I say we bring CM Punk out here so we can quit wasting our time. Come out here and let me hear what this favor is. Come out here and indulge your tribal chief." And that's when Seth Rollins decides to come to the ring. Seth freaking Troll Rollins. Seth Trollins.
Seth Trollins.
And so Seth comes out and he does the whole Chicago, I'm a visionary revolutionary, I'm Seth freaking Rollins. And I wouldn't miss this one for the world. And he says, "See, Roman, I don't know what this little favor is, but I've got a feeling it's going to knock your socks off." And he goes on to berate Roman for allowing CM Punk to continue to exist. And Roman says, "The reality is, you're untrustworthy. I could say the word loyalty, but you have no clue what that means. CM Punk stands here because I made a promise to the wise men and I keep my word. And the truth is, I didn't call you out here. I called out Punk." And Seth concedes that all that's left to do is to find out what Punk has to say. And that's when CM Punk finally makes his way to the ring. And CM Punk says, "The favor, what's the favor?" And we're all like, "Yeah, that's what we want to know about." He says, "This is about friendship and legacy. This is about promises made and kept. This is about loyalty, Paul. This goes back to 4400 Shepherdsfield Road." And he recounts like the history that they have together, him and Paul. And long story short, after regaling the tale of how he and Paul have a long storied history together, he says, "At WrestleMania, in the main event, in my corner, your wise man, my best friend, Paul Heyman." And so the favor is that CM Punk wants to deprive Roman Reigns of Paul Heyman being in Roman Reigns' corner. And Roman laughs and he says, "That's the favor?" And he says, "You understand that he loves me, right?" Referring to Paul Heyman. "He needs me. I saved him. Even if I let him, he wouldn't." And he says, "Wise man." And Paul nervously says, "Yes, my tribal chief." And Roman says, "Let this desperate fool down easy, will you?" And then he turns and looks at Paul when Paul takes too long to respond. And Paul's got tears in his eyes. And he says, "Are you crying?" And he says, "You better dry him up and tell him no." And Paul Heyman's trying to, equivocate with Roman a little bit here. And Roman says, "Look, I took you in. I made you relevant. Tell him no. I'm going to give you one more opportunity. Tell him no." And Paul finally, shrieks out, "No, my tribal chief, I can't do that." And Seth starts laughing maniacally as this is playing out. And Roman ends up backing Heyman into one of the corner turnbuckles. And Punk then immediately jumps Roman from behind. And catching Roman off guard, he manages to put Roman up on his shoulders and hit the go to sleep. And that leaves Roman laying, what'd you call it? Yamchud? Yamchud in the middle of the ring. He's a little chalk outline of Roman Reigns. And then Punk immediately turns his attention to Seth Rollins, thinking that Seth might take this as a chance to jump him. But Seth is just laughing and is entirely amused at this turn of events. And so after they stare at each other for a brief bit, Seth Rollins steps out of the ring as the show goes off the air. And that is the conclusion to this episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So that being said, how would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna give it, and this is despite the horrible promo between Charlotte and Tiffany. I would give it at least 7.5, 8. And I would give it that because honestly, even the matches, all the matches were good. Okay, they were all good. Even the match with Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, I'm not a fan of either one of these tag teams, but they didn't do anything shitty in the ring. They still gave us a good match. It was still a good match. So I have no problems giving this, like I said, 7.5, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8. It kept me engaged the entire night. They kept the party going. They kept the flow pretty good. They even after that abysmal promo between Charlotte and Tiffany, they tried to they were like, holy shit, let's just crank the wheels, let's get this going, please get them off the stage, get them out of here as quickly as possible. So I thought it was good. It was a lot better than the SmackDown about 2 or 3 Fridays ago. We were very concerned. So I think they have gotten back on track for WrestleMania. 8 neck nubs.
I am inclined to agree right down to the number, and 8 neck nubs. And here's my reasoning. If I were to remove the Charlotte Tiffany train wreck,
oh God, please.
This episode was sitting probably at a 9. If I put it back in, it drops at a point because it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, honestly.
But that still leaves it at an 8 because all of the matches were good. We had a debut of Rey Fenix that was outstanding. We also had a very understated debut of Nathan Frazier. And though he had a little ring hiccup, he did a really good job.
Yeah.
And as you stated, all of the matches were good. All of the other promos were good. The only thing I could nitpick would be them playing in full the John Cena Cody Rhodes, but I'll give them a pass this time because it was the redemption of that whole arc.
Yeah.
So I understand them wanting everybody to see it because prior it was bad news bears. So fine. So that said, for me, it would be 8 neck nubs in what would have otherwise been a 9 show had that Tiffy and Charlotte if that whole promo hadn't been quite so abysmal. This would have been a fantastic lead-in show, and it otherwise was, so it still makes it into top tier. 8 neck nubs.
Yep. Agreed.
And with that said, I would like to thank everybody who has listened to this episode. And
even you.
I thank even me?
No, I was pointing to, you know who you are.
Oh, yeah, you know who you are. And I would invite everybody to listen to our next episode, and please join us there as well. Until then, I don't think there's much for me to do but roll the outro.
Bye, guys. My opera.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.